The alarm screamed through the bridge of the eternal horizon. Captain Doyen sat up straight in his chair, eyes fixed on the main screen. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Report," he said, his voice calm despite the flashing red lights. Hana leaned over her navigation console, fingers dancing across the controls. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal. It's weak, barely there, coming from Sector 47. Doyen frowned. Sector 47 was uncharted space. No one went there. No colonies, no trade routes, nothing but empty darkness between the stars. "Are you sure it's a distress signal?" he asked. "Yes, sir. It's automated. Been repeating for at least 3 days based on the degradation pattern." Tae-hyun, the chief engineer, spoke up from his station. "Captain, we're on a schedule. If we investigate, we'll be late delivering supplies to the Valeth cluster. They're counting on us." Doyen nodded slowly. Tae-hyun was right. They had a job to do, but someone out there was in trouble. He made his decision quickly. "Change course. Take us to that signal." The ship turned, engines humming as they pushed toward the unknown. It took 6 hours to reach the source. What they found made everyone on the bridge fall silent. A ship drifted in the darkness. It was huge, at least twice the size of the eternal horizon, but it was dying. Holes dotted its hull. Entire sections were missing. Small fires flickered in exposed compartments, visible through the tears in the metal. "No lights, no power signatures, life signs?" Doyen asked quietly. Jiwoo, the medical officer, checked her scanners. Her face went pale. 207 all week. "Captain, they're barely alive. What species?" "Unknown. I've never seen biological readings like this." Doyen stood up. "Prepare a boarding team. Tae-hyun, can we dock with that ship?" The engineer studied the wreckage. "Maybe, but it's unstable. One wrong move and the whole thing could break apart." "Do it carefully, then." 20 minutes later, Doyen stood in the airlock with Hana and Jiwoo. They wore full environmental suits. The airlock opened with a hiss and they stepped into the alien ship. The smell hit them first, even through the suit filters. Death and smoke and something else, something bitter. The corridors were dark except for their flashlights. Bodies lay everywhere. Hundreds of them. The aliens were tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer even in death. "This way," Jiwoo said, following her medical scanner. "The survivors are deeper inside." They found them in what looked like a cargo bay. 200 aliens huddled together trying to stay warm. Many were injured. Children clung to adults. Everyone looked terrified. One alien stepped forward. She wore torn robes that might have been beautiful once. She raised her hand in what Doyen hoped was a peaceful gesture. "Please," she said in perfect English, though her voice was weak. "Please help us. How do you speak our language?" Hana asked, surprised. "Universal translator." "In my head." The alien touched her temple. "I am Nalith, ambassador of the Valorum people." She paused and tears ran down her silver face. "Or what's left of us." Back on the eternal horizon, Jiwoo worked frantically in the medical bay. The Valorum were suffering from radiation exposure, injuries, and starvation. But they would survive. For now, Doyen sat with Nalith in a quiet room. She held a cup of hot tea in her thin fingers. "What happened?" he asked gently. Nalith stared at the tea. "The Korvath swarm. They came to our system 3 months ago. We tried to talk to them. We tried to surrender. They don't talk. They don't negotiate. They just consume everything. How many of you escaped?" "Just us, 207 people." Her voice broke. "We were 40 billion. 40 billion people. Now we're 200. Our entire civilization is in this room." Doyen felt something heavy settle in his chest. An entire species, almost gone. "Where were you going?" "Anywhere. Nowhere, we didn't know. We just ran until our ship died." She looked up at him with large, dark eyes. "Will you help us?" Before Doyen could answer, alarms blared again. He ran to the bridge. Tae-hyun was already there, face grim. "Captain, we have a problem. Multiple ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 20 of them. And they're not friendly." On the screen, dark shapes appeared. The ships looked organic, like giant insects made of metal and bone. "The Korvath swarm. They followed us," Nalith whispered from the doorway. "They always follow. They don't leave survivors." Doyen's mind raced. Protocol said he should call the Galactic Assembly. Wait for instructions, but that would take days. These people didn't have days. Hana, plot a jump to Earth, maximum speed. "But Captain," Tae-hyun said, We're not authorized to bring unknown aliens to Earth without approval. I don't care about authorization. These are people. We don't leave people to die. Hana's fingers flew over her console. Jump plotted. But sir, those Korvath ships are fast. They'll catch us before we can charge the drive. Doyen looked at the tactical display. She was right. Then he saw his 2 escort ships, small fighters that traveled with them for protection. An idea formed. A terrible idea. He opened a channel. Minho, Sujin, I need you. On the screen, 2 faces appeared. Security Chief Minho smiled his usual confident smile. Pilot Sujin raised an eyebrow. What's the plan, Captain? Minho asked. I need you to buy us time. Hold off the Korvath while we charge the jump drive. There was silence. Everyone understood what that meant. 2 small fighters against 20 warships. It was suicide. Sujin spoke first. How much time do you need? 8 minutes. We can do 8 minutes, Minho said quietly. No, Nalith cried. Don't do this. Don't sacrifice yourselves for us. We're not worth it. Doyen turned to her. Every life is worth it. That's what makes us human. Minho and Sujin's fighters launched. On the screen, everyone watched as 2 tiny ships flew toward 20 giants. The Korvath opened fire immediately, space filled with weapons fire and explosions. But Minho and Sujin were good, very good. They dodged and weaved, drawing the enemy away from the eternal horizon. They fired at weak points, disabled engines, caused chaos. Jump drive at 60%. Hana reported, her voice shaking. On the screen, Sujin's fighter took a hit. It spun wildly but kept flying. 80% Minho's ship lost a wing. He kept fighting. 95%. Minho, Sujin, get back here now. Doyen shouted. No time, Captain, Minho said calmly. You jump as soon as you can. Don't wait for us. That's an order. Sorry, sir. Can't hear you. Bad connection. Minho laughed even now. Tell Earth we did it right, okay? 100%. Ready to jump, Hana cried. Do it, Doyen whispered. The universe stretched and snapped. The eternal horizon vanished, leaving Minho and Sujin alone with the Korvath. Their last transmission was simple, a ship identifier code and a final message. Worth it. 3 days later, the eternal horizon arrived at Earth. The Valorum stepped off the ship into a world of blue skies and green forests. Many fell to their knees and cried. Ambassador Nalith stood before the United Earth Council. She was still weak, still injured, but she stood tall. Your people asked for nothing, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. You gave everything. 2 of your own died so we could live. We are few now. Only 200. But we remember. We will always remember. She placed her hand over her heart in a gesture that looked almost human. One day this debt will be repaid. I swear it on the memory of my people and the sacrifice of your heroes. One day, the council granted the Valorum asylum. They were given homes on Earth's moon colony. They were given safety. They were given a chance to rebuild. But nobody except the Valorum really thought about Nalith's promise. It seemed like just words. Gratitude from refugees who had nothing to give. The galaxy moved on. The incident was recorded in the history files. Captain Doyen received a medal. Minho and Sujin's names were carved on a memorial, and on the moon 200 silver-skinned aliens began to work. They had a debt to repay, and the Valorum always paid their debts. 300 years passed like water flowing down a river. Humans forgot many things in those years. They forgot old wars. They forgot ancient promises. They forgot about the 200 silver-skinned refugees who came to Earth so long ago. But the Valorum did not forget. On the dark side of Earth's moon, in domes hidden from casual observation, the Valorum built their new civilization. They married humans. They had children. They became part of Earth's society. But in secret laboratories deep underground, they worked on something special, something that would change everything. Cirrus stood in the main research facility, now very old by human standards, but still sharp of mind. She had been a child when Captain Doyen saved her people. She remembered everything about that day. The fear, the darkness of their dying ship, the moment humans chose to help them even though it made no sense. How long? She asked her lead scientist. The neural web is ready, the scientist replied. We've tested it 1,000 times. It works, Cirrus nodded slowly. Then we wait. We wait for the moment when Earth needs us. That moment was coming faster than anyone knew. Far across the galaxy, the Thalric Dominion was expanding. The Thalric were warriors bred for conquest. Their empire had swallowed dozens of smaller civilizations. Now they looked toward human space with hungry eyes. Admiral June commanded Earth's defense fleet from the bridge of the Defender. He was young for an admiral, only 40 years old. But he was smart and careful. Right now he was worried. "Show me the tactical display again," he told his officers. The hologram appeared, showing the border between human space and Thalric territory. Red dots marked Thalric warships. There were too many of them. "They've moved 50 battleships to the border in the last month," his tactical officer reported. "That's not normal patrol behavior." "No," June agreed. "It's not." He opened a channel to Earth Command. "We need to inform the Galactic Assembly. The Thalric are preparing for something." On Earth, diplomat Yunbi took the message to the Assembly. She was good at her job, calm and persuasive. But even she couldn't change what happened next. The Galactic Assembly met in a massive station orbiting a neutral star. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Hall. Yunbi stood before them and presented Earth's evidence. "The Thalric are massing forces at our border," she said clearly. "We believe they plan to invade our colonies. We ask the Assembly to pressure them to withdraw." The Assembly murmured among themselves. Then the Varathian ambassador stood. The Varathians were the Assembly's enforcers, their military arm. They were supposed to keep peace. "Earth's colonies are small," the Varathian said dismissively, "not strategically significant. We cannot risk conflict with the Thalric over such minor territories." Other ambassadors nodded. Earth was still considered a minor power, young, inexperienced, not worth starting trouble over. Yunbi felt her stomach drop. "You're abandoning us." "We are being practical," the Varathian replied coldly. "The Assembly cannot protect everyone. Sometimes sacrifices must be made." Yunbi returned to Earth with the news. In the defense headquarters, Admiral June listened to her report. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt rage building. "So we're on our own," he said quietly. "Yes." "How long before the Thalric attack?" "Our intelligence says 2 weeks. Maybe less." June looked at the star map. Earth had 40 warships. Good ships, well-trained crews. But the Thalric had hundreds. The math was simple. Earth would lose. He was about to dismiss his staff when every screen in the room suddenly changed. A symbol appeared. 2 crossed stars, 1 gold and 1 silver. The emblem of Earth and Valorum together. Then a voice spoke. It was Cirrus, though June didn't know that yet. 300 years ago, Captain Doyen saved my people when we were 200 refugees with nothing to offer. He asked for nothing in return. 2 of his crew died so we could live. June's eyes widened. He knew that story. Everyone learned it in history class. But that was ancient history. "We are the Valorum," the voice continued. "We do not forget. We spent 3 centuries preparing to repay our debt. Now Earth faces an enemy too strong to defeat alone. We stand with you." As you stood with us, the transmission ended. For a moment, nobody moved. Then June's communication officer shouted, "Admiral, we're receiving a hail from the moon. From the Valorum settlement." "Put it through," an old Valorum appeared on screen. Cirrus smiled gently. "Admiral June, my name is Cirrus. My mother was Ambassador Nalith. I was 7 years old when your ancestors saved us. I would like to meet with you. Immediately. We have a gift to share." 6 hours later, June stood in a secret Valorum laboratory deep under the moon's surface. What he saw there made his breath stop. A massive chamber filled with organic technology. It looked alive, pulsing with soft light. Valorum scientists worked at stations that seemed to grow from the floor. "What is this?" June asked. Cirrus gestured to the chamber. "We call it the neural web. It combines Valorum biotechnology with human innovation. 300 years of work. What does it do? It connects minds. Not thoughts or feelings, but actions and reactions. A pilot using the neural web can coordinate with 1,000 other pilots instantly. No delay, no miscommunication. Perfect unity." June stared at her. "That's impossible. We are very good at biotechnology, Admiral. And we had 3 centuries to perfect this. We built it for you. For Earth. Because Captain Doyen showed us that some debts must be repaid. Why now? Why not give this to us years ago?" Cirrus's smile faded. "Because it is dangerous. In the wrong hands, this technology could enslave minds. We waited until Earth needed it. Until the debt could be repaid honorably. That time is now." Over the next week, June worked with the Valorum scientists. He learned how the neural web worked. He was the first human to interface with it. The sensation was incredible. He could feel his staff around him, not their thoughts, but their presence. When he gave an order, they understood perfectly. When they reported information, he absorbed it instantly. It was like being one mind in many bodies. Commander Seojin, Jun's strategic officer, interfaced next. His tactical mind suddenly had access to every sensor, every weapon, every ship position simultaneously. "This is beyond anything I imagined," he whispered. Lieutenant Hyejin, a fighter pilot, laughed with joy when she connected. "I can feel every other pilot. We can fly formations that should be impossible." But the most important convert was Engineer Yujin. She understood the technical implications immediately. "With this, our ships can coordinate like a single organism. No communication delays, no confusion. Admiral, this changes everything." As more humans connected to the neural web, Earth's military transformed. But they kept it secret. They trained quietly. They prepared. Meanwhile, the Thalric prepared too. Emperor Grothvar stood in his war room, studying the map of human space. He was massive, over 7 feet tall, with gray skin and tusks protruding from his jaw. "The humans are weak," he told his generals. "Their assembly has abandoned them. We will take their colonies easily. They have 40 ships. We have 600. This will be over in days. Should we send a warning, Emperor?" one general asked. "Give them a chance to surrender?" Grothvar laughed, a harsh sound. "Why, they cannot stop us. Let them see our fleet coming. Let them feel fear before the end." Back on Earth, Admiral June received confirmation that the Thalric fleet was moving. 600 warships heading straight for Proxima, humanity's largest colony. He sent one message to Emperor Grothvar. It was simple. "Withdraw your fleet. This is your only warning." Grothvar read the message and laughed even harder. "The humans threaten us with what?" "They are children playing with toys," he sent his reply. "We are coming. Prepare to become part of the Thalric Dominion." In the command center, June read the Thalric Emperor's response. He showed no expression. Beside him, Cirrus stood silently. "Are we ready?" he asked quietly. "We are ready," she confirmed. "The neural web is fully operational. Every ship, every pilot, every gunner is connected. Then let's show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The Thalric fleet arrived at Proxima Colony 3 days later. 600 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. It was meant to be overwhelming, terrifying. Emperor Grothvar stood on his flagship bridge, smiling. "Begin the attack." Then something impossible happened. Earth's fleet appeared. Not from one direction, but from everywhere at once. 40 ships materialized in perfect positions surrounding the Thalric fleet. But they moved wrong. Too precise. Too coordinated. "What are they doing?" a Thalric officer whispered. Grothvar was about to find out. The Battle of Proxima began at 0600 hours, Galactic Standard Time. It would be over by $1,000. On the bridge of Earth's flagship Defender, Admiral June sat perfectly still. His eyes were closed. To anyone watching, he might have been sleeping. But inside his mind, he was everywhere at once. Through the neural web, June felt every ship in his fleet. He knew where Commander Seojin's cruiser was without looking. He sensed Lieutenant Hyejin's fighter squadron moving into position. Engineer Yujin's technical readiness reports flowed directly into his consciousness. 40 ships, 2,000 crew members, all connected, all moving as one. The Thalric fleet was massive by comparison. 600 warships filled the space around Proxima Colony, like a swarm of angry insects. Each ship was larger and more heavily armed than any human vessel. On paper, this should have been a massacre. Emperor Grothvar stood on his flagship, watching the human ships appear on his sensors. He frowned. Something was odd about their formation. "They're surrounding us," his tactical officer reported. "All sides at once." "Impossible," Grothvar said. "That would require perfect coordination. No species can manage that in real combat." "Sir, they're doing it anyway." Grothvar growled deep in his throat. "Then we crush them from the inside out. All ships open fire. Target the closest human vessels." 600 Thalric ships opened fire simultaneously, space filled with energy beams and missiles. It should have been overwhelming, but the human ships weren't there anymore. Lieutenant Hyejin felt the attack coming before the Thalric even fired. Through the neural web, she sensed the energy build up in their weapons. She didn't need orders. Every pilot in her squadron knew what to do at the exact same moment. Her fighter twisted sideways. rolling in a maneuver that should have been impossible at that speed. Around her, 200 other fighters did the exact same thing at the exact same instant. Not similar, identical, perfect synchronization. The Thalric weapons fire passed harmlessly through empty space. What just happened? Grothvar shouted. His tactical officer stared at his screens in confusion. They dodged, sir. All of them. At the same time. That's impossible! On the defender, June opened his eyes. His voice was calm. Return fire. Pattern Delta 7. He didn't need to explain what Pattern Delta 7 was. Every gunner on every ship knew instantly. They had practiced this formation for a week, but through the neural web it felt like they had done it 1,000 times. 40 human ships fired as one. But they didn't just fire randomly. Each shot was calculated to hit at the exact same moment from multiple angles. The Thalric shields were strong, designed to absorb heavy impacts. But they weren't designed for this. 3 Thalric battleships took simultaneous hits from 6 different directions. Their shields collapsed under the perfectly timed assault. Secondary explosions tore through their hulls. Grothvar watched 3 of his ships die in seconds. All vessels evasive maneuvers. Spread out. The Thalric fleet tried to scatter, but they were too big, too slow. Human fighters wove between the massive warships like needles through cloth. Each fighter knew where every other fighter was. They never collided. They never got in each other's way. Commander Seojun watched the battle unfold through his tactical display. But he didn't just see it, he felt it. Through the neural web, he knew the position of every ship, enemy and friendly, without looking. He knew when to fire before his conscious mind decided. A Thalric destroyer turned toward his cruiser, preparing to fire. Seojun felt the threat and responded instantly. His ship rolled, fired, and moved on in one fluid motion. The destroyer's bridge exploded. Seojun had already forgotten about it, moving to the next target. This wasn't warfare as the galaxy knew it. This was something new, something terrifying. Engineer Yu-Jin worked frantically in the engine room of her cruiser, but part of her mind was connected to the entire fleet. She felt a power fluctuation in Lieutenant Hyejin's fighter before the pilot herself noticed it. Hyejin, your port engine is overheating, Yu-Jin said calmly through the web. Reduce thrust by 15%. 3 ships away, Hyejin adjusted her controls instantly. The engine stabilized. She didn't need to thank Yu-Jin. The gratitude flowed through the connection automatically. This was the true power of the neural web. Not just coordination, but instant correction. Instant adaptation. The fleet learned from every mistake in real time and never made the same mistake twice. The Thalric were learning this lesson the hard way. Sir, we've lost 30 ships, a Thalric officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. The humans are everywhere at once. Grothvar slammed his fist on his command chair. We have 600 ships. They have 40. The numbers don't lie. The numbers don't matter if we can't hit them, sir. It was true. The Thalric were firing constantly, but the human ships moved like water. They flowed around attacks. They were never where the Thalric expected them to be. Admiral June watched the battle through 1,000 eyes. He saw a Thalric cruiser preparing to fire on the Proxima colony itself, trying to force the humans to expose themselves. Before June could give an order, Commander Seojun's ship was already moving to intercept. 3 fighters joined him without being asked. The cruiser died before it could fire a single shot at the colony. We're winning, Seojun said quietly through the web. We're doing more than winning, June replied. We're teaching them a lesson. By the 2-hour mark, the Thalric had lost over 100 ships. The human fleet hadn't lost a single vessel, not one. A few fighters had taken damage, but nothing serious. Nothing that Engineer Yu-Jin and her teams couldn't repair on the fly. Emperor Grothvar stood on his bridge, watching his mighty fleet get torn apart by a force a fraction of its size. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Pull back, he ordered quietly. Sir? His tactical officer asked, not sure he heard correctly. I said pull back. All ships, retreat to the jump point. The Thalric fleet tried to withdraw, but the human ships didn't let them go easily. They harried the retreating warships, destroying engines and weapon systems. They didn't go for kill shots. They disabled. They humiliated. At the 4-hour mark, Emperor Grothvar's flagship jumped to safety. Of the 600 ships he brought to Proxima, only 200 made it out. 400 Thalric warships were either destroyed or drifting in space, disabled and helpless. The human fleet regrouped around the colony. Through the neural web, every crew member felt the same emotion: pride, relief, exhaustion. Admiral June disconnected from the web slowly. The sensation was like waking from a very vivid dream. He stood on the bridge looking at his crew. They had done the impossible. Casualties? He asked. None, sir, his tactical officer reported, voice filled with disbelief. Minor injuries, no deaths. All ships intact. June sat down heavily. They had just fought a battle against overwhelming odds and won without losing a single person. It didn't seem real. Behind him, Cirrus appeared on the communication screen. The old Valorum was crying, silver tears running down her face. Captain Doyen would be proud, she said softly. He saved 200 people. Today his descendants saved millions, June nodded slowly. This technology you gave us, it's incredible. It's our gift, Cirrus replied. Our repayment for 300 years of sanctuary. Our thanks for being saved when we had nothing. But this is too much. This is more than— No, Cirrus interrupted gently. It's not enough. It will never be enough. Your people taught us that kindness has value, that helping others matters. You didn't save us because we could give you something. You saved us because it was right. She paused, wiping her tears. This is what we learned from humans, that the greatest gifts are given to those who ask for nothing in return. Admiral June prepared to broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Every species would receive it. Every government. Every military. He wanted them to understand what just happened. He sat in his chair facing the camera. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly. Through the windows, space was filled with the wreckage of Thalric ambition. This is Admiral June of Earth Defense Command, he began. Today, the Thalric Dominion attacked our colony with 600 warships. We defended ourselves with 40 ships. The Thalric have been defeated, he paused, letting that sink in. 600 against 40. The entire galaxy would be watching this message, calculating what it meant. You're probably wondering how this is possible, June continued. The answer is simple. 300 years ago, a human captain saved 200 refugees from extinction. He asked for nothing in return. 2 of his crew died making that rescue. Today, those refugees repaid that debt. He gestured to the side where Cirrus appeared on split screen. The Valorum gave us a gift, June said. Technology that allows us to coordinate in ways the galaxy has never seen. They gave this freely, asking for nothing, because 3 centuries ago humans gave them everything when they had nothing. June leaned forward, his voice hardening. Let this be a lesson. Earth does not seek war. We didn't want this fight. But when you threaten us, when you think we're weak, remember what happened here today. Remember that humans don't forget our friends, and our friends don't forget us, he stood up. To any species watching this, know that Earth stands ready to defend itself. But we also stand ready to help those in need. Because that's who we are. The Galactic Assembly was in chaos. Ambassador Yunbi stood in the Great Hall, watching as representatives from hundreds of species argued and shouted. The topic was simple. Earth, and what to do about Earth's sudden military superiority. They've upset the balance of power, the Varathian ambassador declared, his voice booming through the chamber. No single species should have such an advantage. Other ambassadors nodded in agreement. Earth had gone from a minor power to something terrifying in a single battle. That made people nervous. Yunbi listened to the arguments with growing anger. 2 weeks ago, these same ambassadors had abandoned Earth. They called human colonies not strategically significant. Now they were afraid because Earth could defend itself. Finally, she stood to speak. The hall fell silent. You're afraid, she said simply. I understand that. But ask yourselves why you're afraid. Is it because we attacked someone? Is it because we conquered territory? Or is it because we refused to die quietly when you abandoned us? The Varathian ambassador stood. You possess technology that could threaten the entire galactic order. It must be controlled. Controlled by who? Yunbi asked coldly. By you? The same assembly that left us to face 600 warships alone? Murmurs spread through the hall. Some species looked uncomfortable. They knew she was right. We demand that Earth surrender the neural web technology to the assembly, the Varathian continued. It must be studied, regulated, distributed fairly among all species. Yunbi laughed bitterly. You mean you want it for yourselves? The answer is no. This technology was a gift to us, from people we saved. It's not for sale. It's not up for negotiation. She looked around the hall at the assembled ambassadors. Earth learned something important. When you help others, truly help them without expecting anything back, they remember. They become real friends. Not political allies, friends. Maybe that's what frightens you. That humanity has that kind of friendship. She walked out of the hall, leaving stunned silence behind her. Back on Earth, President Sun Wu read Yunbi's report from the assembly. He sat in his office looking out at the city below. His chief of staff, Bora, stood nearby. They're going to move against us, Bora said quietly. She was head of Earth intelligence, and her sources were rarely wrong. The Varathians are planning something. What kind of something? A surgical strike. They want to destroy our neural web infrastructure and seize the technology. They're calling it a peacekeeping action. Sun Wu felt his blood run cold. When? During the Unity Festival. 3 weeks from now, when our fleet will be dispersed across human space for the celebrations. The Unity Festival was Earth's biggest celebration. Every colony participated. The military gave demonstrations showing off their capabilities. It would be the perfect time to catch humanity off guard. How did you learn this? Bora smiled grimly. We have friends. Real friends. Remember the Kalrathi plague outbreak 8 years ago? The one where human medical teams saved their colony world? Yes, I remember. The Kalrathi have very good intelligence networks. They repaid us by warning us about the Varathian plan. Sun Wu sat back in his chair. So it's already starting. The debts we're owed are coming due. Yes, sir. And there are more. The Trellian Mining Consortium, the Zelthari Research Station, even the Perkathi Religious Order, species that we helped over the years. They're all quietly offering assistance. The president thought for a long moment. Then he picked up his communicator. Get me General Taeyang. Tell him I need a strategy. We're going to turn this trap inside out. General Taeyang was Earth's top military strategist. He was old in his 60s, but his mind was sharp as ever. When he heard about the Varathian plan, he smiled. They think we're predictable, he said. They think the Unity Festival is a weakness. We'll make it a strength. He called a meeting with Admiral June and the top military staff. On the table was a holographic display of human space and the surrounding sectors. The Varathians will bring a massive fleet, Taeyang explained. 800 ships, maybe more. Enough to overwhelm us through sheer numbers even with the neural web. They'll strike when our forces are dispersed for the festival. So we don't disperse them, Admiral June said. No, we make them think we're dispersed. We'll use holographic projections and automated beacon ships to create the illusion that our fleet is spread out. In reality, every combat-ready vessel will be hidden and ready to strike. Commander Seojin studied the display. Where do we hide an entire fleet? Inside the asteroid belt around Titan Station. The Varathians won't scan it carefully. They'll be focused on Earth and the colonies. Over the next 3 weeks, Earth prepared. But they did it quietly. To any observers, everything looked normal. The Unity Festival approached. Military ships moved to their assigned positions for the celebrations, except those weren't real warships. They were converted cargo vessels broadcasting military signatures. The real fleet was hiding in the asteroids, crews connected through the neural web, waiting in perfect silence. The Valorum helped too. Sirius's grandson, a scientist named Kairos, presented something new to General Taeyang. We've been working on this, Kairos explained, showing them a small device. Phase disruptors. They bypass shields entirely and disable a ship's power core without destroying it. Why give this to us now? Taeyang asked. Because you're in danger because of what we gave you. The neural web made you powerful. That power brought enemies. It's our responsibility to help you survive those enemies. Admiral June looked at the device. This could change warfare. Yes, Kairos said quietly. Just like the neural web changed warfare. Our people have always been good at creating new things. But we learned from humans how to use those creations for defense instead of conquest. That's the gift you gave us. A reason to build, not destroy. On the morning of the Unity Festival, civilian celebrations began on Earth and every colony. Music played. People danced in the streets. It looked like a peaceful, happy day. In space, 800 Varathian warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They appeared in perfect attack formation around Earth's system. It was the largest military operation in assembly history. On the flagship, Varathian Commander Malketh smiled. Target all military installations. Launch the strike in 30 seconds. His tactical officer studied the sensors. Sir, the human fleet is exactly where intelligence said it would be. dispersed across the system. Small groups celebrating at different colonies. Perfect. They've made this easy. But something felt wrong. Malketh was a veteran commander. He had fought 100 battles. His instincts were telling him something was off. Run a deep scan, he ordered suddenly. Check those human ships again. The tactical officer worked his console. His face went pale. Sir, they're not real. Those ships are broadcasting false signatures. They're cargo vessels, not warships. Malketh felt ice in his veins. Then where's the real fleet? Behind them. The entire human fleet materialized from the asteroid belt, having used the neural web to coordinate a system-wide microjump. Something that should have been impossible. Something that required perfect synchronization among hundreds of ships jumping from different locations to arrive at exactly the same moment in the same formation. 800 Varathian ships found themselves surrounded by what looked like only 40 human vessels. But those 40 ships moved like extensions of a single mind, and they carried weapons the Varathians had never seen before. Admiral June sat on the bridge of the Defender, connected to the neural web. He didn't feel anger. He felt disappointment. The Varathians had chosen this. They could have left Earth alone. Attention, Varathian fleet, he broadcast. You came here to attack us during a celebration of peace. You came here to steal technology that was given to us freely. You have 30 seconds to surrender. Commander Malketh laughed. We have 800 ships. You have 40. The neural web won't save you from these odds. We're not using just the neural web, June said calmly. Fire. The human ships unleashed the phase disruptors. The Varathians watched in horror as their shields did nothing. The weapons passed through shield harmonics like they weren't there. One by one, Varathian ships went dark as their power cores were disabled. The weapons didn't destroy. They didn't kill. They just stopped the ships from functioning. In 15 minutes, 200 Varathian ships were drifting helplessly. The remaining 600 tried to fight back. But the human fleet danced around their attacks with the same precision they showed at Proxima. Lieutenant Hyagin led her fighter squadron in a maneuver that would be studied in military academies for generations. 100 fighters weaving between Varathian capital ships, disabling engines and weapons with surgical precision. Not a single fighter was hit. Not one. Commander Seojin coordinated the capital ships. Every cruiser knew exactly where every other cruiser was. They created overlapping fields of fire that gave the Varathians no safe space to maneuver. It wasn't warfare. It was mathematics. Perfect, beautiful mathematics. Engineer Eugen monitored the entire fleet status through the web. When a ship took damage, she knew before the captain did. Repair crews were already moving. Nothing was ever critical. Nothing was ever left to chance. After 30 minutes, Commander Malketh sent the surrender signal. Of his 800 ships, 400 were disabled. Not destroyed, disabled. Their crews were alive but helpless. The old Galactic Assembly was dead. What replaced it grew from something new, something better. They called it the Galactic Compact. Unlike the old Assembly where powerful species made all the decisions, the Compact was built on a different principle. A principle humanity had taught the galaxy. Help others. Remember those who helped you. Repay your debts. Ambassador Yunbi stood at the center of the new Compact headquarters. It wasn't on a neutral station anymore. It was on Earth. Species from across the galaxy had voted for that. They wanted Earth at the heart of this new order. Not because humans were the strongest, but because they had proven to be the most trustworthy. Today was important. Today, species were coming forward to share their own stories. Stories about Earth, about humans, about debts that were finally being repaid. The first to speak was Ambassador Lyra. She was young, only 50 years old, but carried herself with dignity. She was the great-granddaughter of Cirrus, who had been saved by Captain Doyen 3 centuries ago. Lyra stood before the assembled representatives. Her silver skin shimmered under the lights. My people were saved when we numbered only 200, she began. Captain Doyen asked us for nothing. 2 of his crew died so we could live. For 300 years, we worked to repay that debt. We gave Earth the neural web, but that was just the beginning. She gestured and a hologram appeared. It showed Valorum scientists working alongside human researchers. We've also been working on medical technology, biotechnology, energy systems. Everything we create, we share with Earth first. Not because we must, because we want to. This is what gratitude looks like. It never ends. It keeps growing. The hall was silent. Then another ambassador stood. He was Kalrathi, a species that looked like tall, blue-furred cats. His name was Ambassador Thorin. 8 years ago, my people faced a plague, Thorin said, his voice rough with emotion. It killed millions. Our medical technology couldn't stop it. We begged the Assembly for help. They sent thoughts and prayers. Earth sent doctors. He pulled up images of human medical teams working on Kalrathi colony worlds. Dr. Yuna and her team stayed for 6 months. They lived among the sick. 3 human doctors died from the plague trying to save us. They could have left. They stayed. They saved 800 million Kalrathi lives. Thorin's eyes glowed with something that might have been tears. For 8 years, my people have been asking ourselves how we repay that debt. Today, we share our answer. The hologram changed, showing weapon designs. The Kalrathi have always been skilled in weapons technology. We've created something new. Defensive weapons that can detect and neutralize biological and chemical attacks. We give this freely to the compact, to all species, because humans taught us that knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. Captain Jiho sat in the audience taking notes. He was Earth's chief historian, responsible for recording how humanity's small acts of kindness were transforming the galaxy. He had been studying this pattern for 5 years now, and he was beginning to understand something profound. Kindness didn't just repay itself. It multiplied. Another ambassador stood. This one was Trellian, a rock-like species that lived in deep mines. His name was Vox, and his voice rumbled like stones grinding together. 57 years ago, Vox began. A human freighter found our mining station damaged by an asteroid strike. We were not in human space. We were far from any trade routes. The freighter captain, whose name was Deho, had no reason to help us. Vox's rocky face formed what might have been a smile. But Captain Daiho diverted his ship. He was carrying time-sensitive cargo. Helping us would cost him money. Maybe his job. He helped anyway. His crew worked for 3 days to repair our station. When we offered payment, he refused. The Trellian ambassador touched his chest, a gesture of respect. The Trellian Consortium has spent 57 years researching new FTL drive technology. We have created something revolutionary. Drives that are twice as fast and use half the energy. This technology could change galactic trade forever. He paused for effect. We give this technology to the compact. Freely. Because Captain Deho taught us that some things are more important than profit. Like keeping your word, like helping strangers, like being decent. More ambassadors stood. Each one had a story. Each one had a debt to repay. The Prokathi, a deeply religious species, told of how human diplomats had negotiated peace in their civil war. In gratitude, they shared their advanced meditation techniques, which helped with neural web integration. The Zelthari scientists spoke of how humans had saved their research station from a black hole's gravity well. In return, they developed new shield technology that was now standard on all compact vessels. The Yoran traders told how a human merchant named Minji had given them credit when no one else would. They repaid that trust by creating new banking systems that made trade easier for every species. On and on it went, species after species, each with a story of humans helping them, each with a gift to share in return. Admiral June, now retired and old, sat next to Captain Jiho. He whispered, "Did we really do all this? Did humans really help this many species?" Jiho nodded slowly. "We did. But we never thought of it as building alliances. We just thought we were doing the right thing." "That's what makes it work," came a voice behind them. It was President Sunwoo, also old now, his hair completely white. "If we had done these things expecting payment, none of this would be happening. Gratitude can't be forced. It has to be freely given." On the main floor, Ambassador Lyra called for attention again. "There is one more thing the Valorum wished to share." She gestured and the lights dimmed. A hologram appeared, but this one was different. It showed a memorial. On Earth's moon, carved into the rock itself, 2 names were written in letters 50 feet tall. Minho, Sujin. "We have watched humans for 300 years, Lyra said softly. "We've seen how you honor those who sacrifice themselves. How you never forget. You taught us that gratitude must be permanent. So we built this." The hologram expanded, showing more names. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. All carved into the lunar surface in a spiral pattern that could be seen from orbit. "Every human who died helping another species," Lyra explained. "Everyone who gave their life for strangers. We found them all. We recorded their names. This memorial will last for millions of years, because the Valorum never forget, and we will ensure the galaxy never forgets either. In the audience, many humans were crying. They had known about the memorial, but seeing it presented this way, seeing how much effort the Valorum had put into honoring human sacrifice, was overwhelming. An old woman stood up in the back. She was introduced as Grandmother Sujin, daughter of the pilot who died 300 years ago. "My mother died before I was born," she said, her voice quivering but strong. "I never knew her except through stories. But because of what she did, because of how the Valorum remembered her, my family has always known that her death mattered, that she mattered." She wiped tears from her eyes. "When I was young, I asked my father why Mom sacrificed herself for strangers. He told me because that's what humans do. We don't leave people to die. I didn't understand then. I was angry. But now seeing all this, seeing how one act of kindness 300 years ago created all of this, she couldn't finish. She didn't need to." The meeting continued for hours. New technologies were shared. New alliances were formed. But the most important thing wasn't the technology or the alliances. It was the shift in thinking. Species were learning that helping others wasn't weakness. It was the greatest possible strength. Because when you genuinely help someone, when you ask for nothing in return, you create something more powerful than any weapon. You create loyalty, real unbreakable loyalty. 3 weeks after the compact meeting, Captain Jiho published his report. It was called The Economics of Gratitude. In it, he explained what he had discovered. Every species that humanity had helped over the past 3 centuries had repaid that help. But they hadn't just repaid it equally. They had repaid it with interest. The Valorum gave humanity technology worth trillions. The Kalrathi gave weapon systems that would take a century to develop independently. The Trellians gave FTL drives that revolutionized travel. On average, each species repaid humanity's kindness at a rate of 10,000 to 1. That meant every credit Earth spent helping others, every life sacrificed, every resource shared, came back multiplied by 10,000, sometimes more. "Kindness is the most profitable investment in the galaxy," Jiho wrote, "but only if you're not investing for profit. The moment you help someone expecting repayment, you break the equation. True gratitude only exists when the original gift was given freely." The report went viral across the compact. Species began implementing what they called the human doctrine. Help others. Expect nothing. Trust that the universe will balance itself. It worked. Within a decade, wars decreased by 60%. Trade increased by 200%. Scientific advancement accelerated as species freely shared research instead of hoarding it. The galaxy was becoming something it had never been before. Cooperative, trusting, kind. All because 300 years ago, a human captain decided to save 200 refugees. Admiral June died at the age of 93. His funeral was attended by representatives from every species in the compact.